The Mayberry Investments Limited Virtual Investor Forum has been the standard for investor education in Jamaica for decades, where top financial minds provide comprehensive insight into the market and ideal investment strategies and opportunities for our clients. Celebrating 37 years of excellence in investment banking. The Mayberry Virtual Investor Forum, investing in Jamaica.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. I'm your host, Dan Theok, Senior Vice President of Investment Banking. Thank you for joining us again for yet another investor briefing, second one this week, where we'll be looking at Supreme Ventures Limited Group results for the third quarter. Joining us today will be the Executive Chairman of Supreme Ventures Limited, Gary Peart. Welcome, Gary.
Thank you, Dan.
Welcome,
Hi, everybody.
Everyone. Good deal. Now, if you're a fan of the content, then don't forget to subscribe. Also, hit the bell to stay up to date with the channel. We upload content like this just about once a week. And I remind you that we'll be having our Q&A segment at the end, so stick around and send in your questions. Additionally, if you want to embark on your very first investment journey, take that very first step with Mayberry Investments Limited. Follow us on social media to learn how you can get started today. Okay, so as promised, I would like to bring up the presentation of the results for the 9 months ended September 2023 for SVL. And the results were, in short, fantastic. But just to go through the details so you guys can appreciate my excitement, first up, I want to look at the results, focus mainly on the 9 months results here to date. September 2023, second column from the far right, you will see, third column from the far right, you will see total gaming income up to $39.9 billion for the 9-month period. That's an increase of $1.4 billion or 6% over the previous year. So very, very impressive growth there. In fact, $2.4 billion increase or 6%, while containing direct expenses to only a 4% increase, which results in gross profit growing to $9 billion, an increase of 19% or $1.4 billion. SG&A up by 22% to $5.9 billion. And we'll be talking a lot about that because a lot of those increases are associated with the expansion and digitization efforts of SVL. So we'll definitely be talking to Executive Chairman Peart about what's happening down at SVL in terms of the expansion, in terms of the digitization efforts. Net result is operating profit up by 18% to $3.4 billion. After increases in finance costs to $495 million, they end up with a profit before tax of $2.9 billion, up by 9% from the prior year. And finally, net profit attributable to shareholders of $2.1 billion for the 9-month period, which is a 2% increase over the prior year. Notably, for the quarter, the profit was $408 million, which represents an EPS of 15 cents, and I presume that's driven the folks to give a dividend consideration for approximately 9 cents to be paid out of the profits for the quarter. So again, we see SVL keeping up a very strong track record of dividends being paid out. Additionally, looking at the balance sheet highlights here, we can see total assets are up to $20.6 billion, quite impressive. Shareholders' equity hovering above $6 billion. And I do wish to note that in that total assets of $20 billion, they have $3 billion in cash. So the company is definitely generating substantial amounts of cash, net of their payouts. And the business has a relatively low level of debt, approximately $7 billion of debt, gross debt. So that's $4 billion net debt compared to equity of $6 billion. So you can appreciate about 40% leverage, which is very, very conservative for a business that throws off this level of cash. Next slide, let's look at the composition of the revenues. And you can see that the revenues from lottery and sports betting continue to be substantial and the primary places where they're earning revenues. Notably, we can see sports betting, and I guess the digitization effort and expansion are helping to drive that. But we'll certainly be asking Mr. Peart. We can see sports betting revenues growing by 38% from $9.2 billion to $12.8 billion, while the PIN codes or telecoms revenues fell slightly by about 3% to $8.8 billion. But again, sports betting and the lottery revenues making up the substantial components of the revenues, over 75%. And on the next slide, we show that composition in a pie chart where you can fully appreciate the composition. And again, you can see where sports betting in green has grown from 23% of total revenues last year to 32%. But together, sports betting and PIN codes continue to make up about 75% of the revenues, which is pretty notable. Next slide shows the profitability by quarter. And, it's great to see this slide for two reasons, because, so often we've looked at companies over the last, 6 months, 12 months, and you see a common trend generally, which is lots of companies who made losses during the pandemic, during that 2-year period. And what you can see here, folks, is a chart that shows last 14 quarters, and there's not a single quarter where SVL has turned a loss. We've seen dips in the profit from period to period with a low of $192 million, and this is going back all the way to Q1 2020. So we're looking at the last 3 years, but you have not seen losses at any point in time. So it demonstrates, the fact that SVL is a sort of recession-proof, pandemic resilient type stock. It's the kind of stock you want in your portfolio. And then looking at the last 4 quarters in particular, we can see this last quarter at $394 million was not the best quarter on earth. But more importantly, I can see in 2 out of those last 4 quarters that they've essentially touched $1 billion in profit. And really, that's the expectation. That's the standard, I think, that they're going to get to. This is Dan Theok speaking as the analyst, especially as we see that Ghana business in Africa starting to take hold. You bear in mind they're in the embryotic phases of it now, and we'll definitely be talking about that. But, it's my hope, expectation, that as soon as that gets rolling, 6 months from now, we should be coming back, and the new standard for Mr. Peart, required of Dan Theok, if I could be so facetious, is going to be $1 billion of profit per quarter. So, Mr. Peart, first question I have for you, what are you doing over there at SVL to be growing your revenues by $2.4 billion this year over last year?
Hi, Dan. Hi, everybody. The first one, I think you highlighted it, is sports betting. So several years ago, especially when this current investor group took control, we realized that sports betting was a shift that was being made in the gaming industry, and that people wanted to have more skill-based games. And that's what sports betting represented. And ever since we invested in sports betting, as you remember, we now have 80% of Postables, what was formerly Postables, under their brand AnyBet. We also ramped up our brand JustBet. And, we have seen significant revenues. As a matter of fact, every year since 2018, when we did that transaction, we have seen our sports betting revenue grow by double digits. And in some years, 40, 50% year over year. And that continues to be pretty strong. I think it's 38% year to date, and we expect that to continue. And if you stop and think about it, the best and biggest sports betting event is the World Cup, which was last year. And, even after revenues spiking in during the World Cup, we see where we're still able to have double-digit growth again in a non-World Cup year.
Yeah, that's extremely impressive, because I'm going to be honest, I wondered if we were going to see it flattening off, recognizing that, there was going to be substantial revenues coming out of the World Cup in my mind. But instead, as you said, we see it continuing to grow, growing by 32%, as we showed in the slide, which translated into over $3 billion growth in that segment itself. Tell us a little bit also about the automation drive, the digitization drive, because again, we note in the SG&A, notable increases in SG&A as you make 2 large investments. So first you can talk about the digitization, and then you can tell us a little bit about Ghana, the thing everybody wants to know about.
Sure. So, one of the things, if you look at a trend, The third quarter has always been our weakest quarter. I think the only year the third quarter was materially above these numbers was interestingly during COVID. And, I think that had to do with the timing of different lockdowns, etc. So, traditionally, we do a lot of our promotions to drive top line growth during this third quarter. You have back to school. And, what we saw, as we usually do, the promotions, actually puts more money back into the customer's hands. And that usually comes with an impact on our costs, and that the costs are much greater. But it's good overall because it regains interest in our games. And what you usually see is that the third quarter is followed by usually a massive fourth quarter. We expect that to happen. So that's one aspect of it. The next aspect of it, I think the last time we spoke, I told you that SVL is transitioning to a technology company.
Yes.
And one of the things that we're doing, we're trying to drive that culture of technology straight through the organization and outside of the organization. And one of our biggest stakeholders are our retailers. And, we spent a lot of money and developed a retailer app to make the relationship between ourselves and themselves that much easier. So we have had adoption issues there. And in the last 4 months, with most of it being in the last quarter, we've had to go through a process to reconcile and ensure that all the balances, accounts receivables, etc., are in the right and correct places. And coming out of that, we thought it was prudent, and we've taken some higher than normal provisions. We expect maybe quite a bit of those provisions to be rolled back, but we're being prudent at this point in time. So the third quarter was impacted by that as well. You've also indicated that, we're looking at expansion in Ghana. That also is being done via some significant technology advances. And so we got some of those costs during this period. But, we are actually ahead of our rollout plan for Ghana. So where we are now, we got the license. We started July 26th. We rolled out Pick 4 first, and then we rolled out Pick 1 on the 15th of September. So we have successfully rolled out the 2 products that we're licensed to roll out. We did it digitally, so we're fully online. As we speak, yesterday, we actually rolled out our first terrestrial channel. That's the handheld solution. And we expect by the end of this quarter, we would have completed our full terrestrial rollout. Well, certainly by the end of the first quarter next year, would have completed our full terrestrial rollout. Sorry about that. Hello? Hello?
Yep, we're hearing you now again, Gary. We had a break in transmission for a moment.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah. So I'm saying where we are now, we have successfully rolled out the 2 products, Pick 1, Pick 4. We have successfully rolled out our digital channel. As of yesterday, we rolled out via pilot of the first of several physical channels, and we expect that our plan for a full rollout is by March of next year. And based on the trend that we have, we expect to fully roll out before that time. So we expect Ghana to start to contribute positively before June of next year.
Okay, very good. And to put that into perspective, I mean, here in Jamaica, you guys have close to 2,000 sort of distribution points, selling points, all digitally connected. So in the case of Ghana, could we expect you to be targeting getting to similar distribution points or channels? What are your thoughts in terms of the terrestrial rollout and the points of contact or distribution points?
Well, as I said, we live on an island of 3 million people. Ghana has 34 million people. So for example, there's an association that has 328,000 people that are selling things on the road. And we're in conversation with that association. So depending on how deep our penetration goes, will determine how wide and how many distribution points. But without a doubt, we'll achieve at least 10 times. I mean, right now we have 2,200 points of sale here in Jamaica. I think by the time we're done, we'll have at least 25,000 points of sale in Ghana. And that doesn't include the advances we'll make from a technology perspective. So there's certain software that we're rolling out in Ghana that we don't have here in Jamaica, because Jamaica does not yet have the technology in place to allow for those kind of things. So for example, wallets is a commodity in Ghana,
Yeah.
so you can do a lot of digitally moving monies. Here in Jamaica, we're still in nascent stages, but that's the exciting thing. We're experimenting with certain things in Ghana that by the time Jamaica catches up, we have all the products ready to it'll seem innovative here in Jamaica, but we would have tested it in a very large market overseas.
Yeah, that's an interesting point to note. When people think of Ghana, Africa, I hear the 34 million population, 10 times us, but they don't appreciate is how technologically advanced they are. So the idea that the mobile wallets and paying by cell phones and commerce through mobile technology there in Ghana is substantially far more advanced than
Yes.
Jamaica. And so we've seen the digital growth that you're having here in Jamaica. We talked about a 32% growth, but in Ghana, they're already there, and you guys are sort of walking into a network and a culture where people are already used to that. So that shows the potential for Ghana, all things being equal, to become 10 times the size of SVL is not far-fetched. And would you say, Gary, by next year, June, I mean, you really expect that business to be cash flow positive and for you guys to have a strong feel for how well it's going to do?
Yeah, I mean, that's the plan. We're new. We have local partners. We work with them. We're trying to understand the nuances. As with any startup, there are going to be certain challenges. But if you look on our business, you have to expand. And the beautiful thing, we've deliberately ensured that we're moving SVL to technology, right? And what it costs SVL to roll out when they started in Jamaica, it's a fraction of the cost that we have to pay to roll out in Ghana. And so what it's going to boil down to is our intellectual capacity, our intellectual property. So how do we market versus how someone else markets? How do we distribute? So those things are key. We have some other things that some people in the past used to think, you can't make money out of. So for example, Caymanos Track is another very exciting thing that is happening within the group right now. We have our feature race, the Mute Mile. We have announced that Fox Sports has agreed to carry the Mute Mile live. I think we'll get anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes live, which is just unheard of. Nobody has done that before. And we have some more exciting news about what our plans are for next year. The Caymanos you see today is going to be radically different as of March next year. We're going to make some serious investments, and we're moving it to the next level. And people are going to be surprised. And I've said it before, I believe Caymanos is going to become a main profit driver of the SVL group revenues and profits, and, we have all these relationships abroad, and they're so excited at some of the stuff that we're doing. And we've put ourselves in the ecosystem, and, we expect to benefit from it. Solomon Aswanda and Chris Wills, they're doing very, very well over there. And it's about a vision. There are several people that came before. They didn't see things the way we saw it. But thank the Lord, we've been able to execute. And every year we keep pushing the product to higher and higher heights. And, when you stop and think about it, Dan, for the first time, we now have 4 horses that were imported into Jamaica just to run a race, which is the Mute Mile.
Wow.
So we've finally broken the back. We've always said it was one of the objectives. We've now achieved that objective. We have one of the largest, if not the largest, television station, network in the US that's going to carry the race. So there are many firsts that people wouldn't have thought of that would ever happen here. And as I will tell you, this is just the tip of the iceberg. And the final thing, at the Mute Mile theme this year is Kings and Queens, so I invite everyone to come dressed as your favorite king and queen. It doesn't have to be just the king and queen of England. It can be the king and queen of dancehall. But it's going to be a very wonderful day.
When's that event going to be, Gary? When in December?
That's going to be the 2nd of December.
2nd of December, Mute Mile.
Yeah.
Great. We look forward to it. And it's, really good to see us building brand Jamaica in other areas. I mean, it's naturally that we do exceptionally well in sports. And so it's great to see us building the brand as it relates to Jamaica and horse racing and Caymans in particular, a sport that has great potential for growth. And we see the way it's done in other countries. And, we really don't market it that way in Jamaica. So it's great to see what you guys are doing down there. So we can report that Caymans is now cash flow positive, Gary, and no longer creating any drain on the group.
It's not fully cash flow positive because there are certain investments that we have to make.
Yeah.
They have far exceeded what was required in our lease arrangement.
Right.
We were supposed to invest a minimum of $500 million. I think at last check we're approaching 4 billion, if we have not passed 4 billion, and we continue to invest. Over the next couple of weeks, if not months, you will hear about the new plans that we have for 2024, which will be very, very exciting. And I mean, it's going to be a massive shift, similar to the earthquake that we've had. I mean, it's going to put Caymans in a whole new realm, and when you finally hear it and see it, I mean, this time next year, you'd never believe it's the same Caymans we're talking about.
Excellent. It's good to hear that. It's my dream again as an analyst one day that you guys will get to a place where potentially Caymans could be spun off on its own. And it definitely looks like you're moving in that direction. So,
and I think we expect to achieve that within 5 years.
Excellent. Well, I look forward to having that conversation again in 6 months specifically to see where Caymans is and how that's developing. Let's talk about partnerships, Gary. We see in your quarterly results, you're talking about investments made in Main Event Entertainment Group and in Dollar Financials, and the fact that they've yielded you about $300 million in gains for the year-to-date period. What's your thinking and philosophy around those investments, and how do they tie back into SVL?
So, I'll tell you one at a time. Main Event, Supreme Ventures is fundamentally an entertainment company in terms of some of the products.
Yeah.
I mean, watch in that with technology. Main Event is the #1 event promotion and management company in the country. So that's a natural partnership. And, some of the things that I speak about at Caymans, I mean, going forward will be done in conjunction with Main Event. So those projects will drive further revenue in Main Event. And, so we thought that, listen, if we're going down the road, let's form some form of partnership. So SVL has 10% off that. And that continues to bear fruit and expect to bear bigger fruit, especially when you see where Caymans is this time next year. That's one. $2. Within SVL has its own microfinance businesses. It has Michaela, it has Evolve, which is straight fintech. And, Dollar is the leading, if not the fastest growing microfinance business in the country right now. And, we saw the opportunity. It made sense from a SVL perspective. There are a certain amount of synergies. As you have pointed out, we have 2,200 points of sale across lottery, across AnyBet, JustBet, Caymans, etc. So it allows for a captured market for both a Dollar, Michaela, and an Evolve. And even though they all fall under microfinance, they're very targeted. They're very niche markets. So we see where once again there was a lot of value to be executed on both sides. So for example, you can pay your Dollar loans at some SVL locations, So those are the kind of things we can put together. We can rent them space because we have all these different Coco stores, large company-owned stores, So that's an area where you get a lot of synergies, We also have other unquoted investments that, most people don't talk about. And so those are hidden values that's there in the balance sheet. And as I said, we are building out a vision that's based on our platform. It's called the Supreme Life platform. And, as we build out that platform, you will see a lot of these investments that might seem disparate to some. You'll actually see how interlinked they are. But the core driver is the Supreme Life platform.
Excellent. And it makes good sense to me now that you've explained that. And I'd like to send a big up to Solomon for the great work he's doing over there at the Main Event, and for Kenroy Carr, who's now taken over the realm from Kadeem Mears, and the great work he and Trevain are doing over at Dollar Financials. As you said, Gary, fastest growing microfinance business in Jamaica, also the most profitable microfinance business in Jamaica, and it looks like they just have legs to keep on growing. So I think it's a great partnership, and I believe SVL has a 15% interest in Dollar Financials, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you're correct.
Okay, good deal. All right, great. Really good to hear about those opportunities. Okay, so folks, without further ado, I see tons of questions coming in from social media, so we will start to get to a few of those questions if you're okay with that, Gary. Again,
Sure.
summarizing, folks, $2.1 billion profit for the 9-month period ended September 23, and Gary's explained how traditionally Q3 tends to be a slower quarter for SVL, and I've looked back at the numbers and I can verify, and I think he's also hinted or implied that the next quarter is going to be great. He didn't say it, I said it, but I'm expecting at least $1 billion of profit. Great. So jumping into the questions that we have coming in, first one I'm going to take is asking, how successful was SVL in raising $3 billion bond during the quarter to fund the Ghana expansion?
Well, we were very successful. In addition to it went out to raise $3 billion, but it had a tap feature, and we actually increased it to 3.5. Because during the process of the raise, the dollar opportunity presented itself, and so we just increased it by another $500 million to fund the dollar purchase.
Okay, good deal. So the bond raise obviously went successful. So hopefully that answers your question, investor 123. And O'Neill Johnson asked about what opportunity did SVL see, why it took a financial stake in Dollar Financial. So O'Neill, I hope we've answered your question there. Jamaican investor asks, will you be leaving Mayberry Investments as CEO shortly to lead SVL full-time on this growth path?
Well, I believe both companies full-time. Everybody keeps asking those questions, and the simple reality is that my role at Mayberry as CEO is to find opportunities, mainly expansion opportunities for my customers and clients. My main role at Supreme Ventures is to find expansion and opportunities for SVL. So they're actually very synergistic, and the requirements for either job are very similar. So I think the real question is, if you look on the value, if you look on the results of both companies since I've been doing this, they haven't been too bad, you think? I think we've had a record last year for SVL. I think we had a record for Mayberry last year as well and the year before. So I don't know. If it ain't broke, why fix it?
I tend to agree, and I'm quite happy with your leadership here at Mayberry Investments. I don't think they're stealing you too much from us over at SVL.
Thanks, Dan.
Tresquet Gooden asks, is it true that SVL uses accrual accounting? If that's the case, has SVL truly received all of their outstanding revenues? So let me help her out. They absolutely have to use IFRS accounting, and the outstanding revenues would be reflected in the receivables that you see in the balance sheet. I believe it's about $8 billion, if my memory serves me well, Tresquet. So yes, absolutely. Accounts must be prepared to International Financial Reporting Standards, which is an accrual basis, and SVL generally does a good job with its receivables. Gary, any concerns regarding your collections or receivables?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, you explained it very well. I mean, nowadays, you don't have accounts that don't have accruals, etc. in there.
Yeah.
SVL has had a clean audit for decades, and we expect that to continue.
Good deal. Yes, it's only the government of Jamaica that I know that doesn't do accrual accounting. Let me get mine. I get myself in trouble. Fitzroy Adams says, on a previous investor briefing, Mr. Peart stated that the structure of the agreement between SVL and IGT was performance-based. Is there a similar structure for SVL Ghana?
Yes.
Except it's not IGT this time around, is it?
Correct.
Good.
So in this instance, SVL is IGT in Ghana. So remember, in Ghana, SVL provides technical services and other services like marketing to our Ghanaian partners, who's Game Park. So Game Park, the lottery can only be owned by a Ghanaian entity. So our partners in Ghana are Game Park, and they use our services exclusively. So similar to here in Jamaica, SVL owns the lottery, but our lottery provider, in some instances, marketing services provider is IGT. So, we compensate them based on a particular model that's tied to performance.
So in Africa, what you're saying is SVL is the IGT. There is no
The equivalent
IGT.
of IGT.
There
yes.
is no IGT. You are IGT effectively there. You're providing all of the technology and those services, and therefore are
Correct.
going to benefit from
Correct.
the lottery there. So
Correct.
excellent. So that
So to put it in perspective, in Jamaica, so let's use last year's numbers. So last year we recorded a record $3 billion in profit, which is about 20 million US. For last year, I think we paid IGT about 13 million US. So as a lottery operator, after paying them, we make a 20 million US profit. But then we have to pay them 13 million US for the software.
got it. So in your last year's audited financial statements, you made a $20 million profit after paying them the 13 million.
Yes.
Good deal.
Our profit after tax was 20 million US
Yep.
effectively, because we did 3 billion
Right.
Jamaican. So at an exchange rate of 150, that's 20 million US.
Right.
And we have to pay them and others, but they are a very big line item, but they create significant value for us in the same way we plan to create significant value for Game Park in Ghana.
Got it. And that 13 that you paid them would show up in your direct expenses line item, I suppose, of your profit and loss.
Correct.
Got it.
In the case of Guyana, we are also the license holder and the lottery and services provider.
Got it. So you'll have several sources of revenue from Game Park, and that should be very profitable, because in that instance, you're avoiding this $13 million charge that you incur in Jamaica, for instance. Okay,
Correct.
that makes great sense. And so we can appreciate why you made the statement that SVL is transforming itself into a technology company, the idea that you're providing technology-based services. So in that regard, Gary, tell us a little bit about your vision for SVL becoming this technology company. I believe you guys have an application in with the Bank of Jamaica to get into the what's it called again, Gary? Into the mobile data
Nobody
space.
should know. I will answer you.
Say it again. No one should know?
No.
Okay, good deal. Well, you have the ambition to expand and get into the digital space in Jamaica. Wallet, providing
we're
mobile
already,
wallet.
what I'll do, I'll help you down. So
Sure.
I keep speaking about the Supreme Life platform.
Platform.
As a consequence of the Supreme Life platform, we have several proprietary software that we have rolled out in different markets. So the one I speak up the most about is our proprietary lottery software that we've rolled out in Guyana. We've rolled that out in Ghana. We currently have our proprietary software for bill payments. We have proprietary software for microfinance. We work with partners. So for example, Evolve is AI driven. We now have our own retailer app that our retailers log onto. So when they lodge their monies, they upload their lodgement slip, and then it updates their accounts with their accounts, and it automatically updates my GLs, etc. So we have a variety of software. And then we have single sign-on with our own SV game platform, which runs on SLP, where all the lottery games that we have and offer physically or terrestrially, you can buy online. We also have Acropolis online. We now have AnyBet online. We have Just Bet online. So we have several technological advances, not just on the front end, but also on the back end. And we're developing proprietary software to deal with our accounting, etc. At the end of the day, I think once we have harmonized all these things, we're in a position where potentially we can monetize it further by selling to third parties. Right now, what we're seeing and what we're trying to achieve is the efficiency, moving from having numbers of people to software that can fill the gap and make us deliver much more economically.
Excellent. So let me dream with you, Gary, and you can tell me the time frame for this dream coming true. But you're saying one day I'll be able to take my phone, jump on your app, and play any of your games, all of your games.
Yes. Yes. Anywhere.
And I would not have to, go to a point, give somebody money, get a ticket, go home, wait to see it play on TV and see whether I've won. You're saying one day I'll be able to use my phone and do all of that. And if I've won, I'll be able to just go back to my phone and see if I've won. The value will be loaded to my phone. And if I want to transfer that value to my wife, to my girlfriend, to my mother-in-law, whatever, I'd be able to transfer that money to that person all from my phone.
Right. That exists now.
That exists now.
So on SV Gaming, you transfer monies from your bank account to your SV Gaming account. You play. If you win, it goes to your SV account. If you want, you can send it back to your bank account, which goes then to the other set of people. But ultimately, every quarter, we improve the experience, and we keep getting requests from our customers for more and different things. So maybe one day, if you really want to dream, maybe one day you can just buy your groceries online from SV Games. You can pay any bill you want. I've said we have a bill payment app, and there's some other stuff that I think you're trying to probably allude to, which is pretty obvious. So don't be surprised if you see in short order, we get several approvals that just start to move us seamlessly right across the potential digital business landscape. But put it this way, anything that is digitally aligned and is a business, SVL has the capacity to enter into it and do it in a way that is pretty profitable.
Excellent. That's
just here in Jamaica, because we're even seeing that opportunity in Ghana,
right,
where the software is eligible to be used in Ghana. And that's actually been one of the best things about our experience in Ghana. How innovative and how quickly we can bring certain solutions to the market that they have never seen before. And we're just waiting for certain legislative changes to be had here in Jamaica to launch them here as well, which would just increase the pace at which we digitize the business.
Excellent. Good deal. Well, okay. Lots of questions still coming in. Let's see if I can get through to them. Lights and solar at Caymanas. Philip Burgess is asking any updates, and how's that search for the horse racing billionaire going?
For the horse racing who?
Horse racing billionaire. How's the search for the
I'm
racing
closer.
billionaire
going? I'm much closer for the billionaire. The solar, the first phase of it is in. I think I've said some of this publicly. So, the saving that we have gotten from connecting the main building has been so extensive that it actually impacted positively the saving right across the group. So when you look on the group electricity, the variance across the group was materially positive because of how large a benefit that Caymanas was. So that made sense. We haven't fully benefited from it because there's some challenges with the stables. But in the interim, we'd build the tote board, and the tote board pulls a lot of energy that the solar plant has been able to deal with. Ask me the question about lights next month.
Okay. Sounds good.
But I've always said if lights are put into Caymanas, it's a different beast at that point in time. Lights at Caymanas allows us to schedule our races to meet our international partners' requests. So we could actually run the Mute Mile in the night. We could maybe potentially run the Nitro Series in the day, and then run a race at night. So it creates. So for example, Africa is 5 hours ahead. So when we run a race at 12, starts at 12 noon, it's 5 p.m. in Africa. So we can sell night racing to certain countries in Africa. So that's what I mean. It opens up a huge opportunity, and what this question is doing is kind of making what I said before seem less of a parable, or in that with lights, it truly opens up the entertainment side. Hello?
Yep. With lights, it truly opens up the entertainment side.
Yeah, with lights, it truly opens up the entertainment side of Caymanas. So, for example, the infield of Caymanas is estimated to be between 50 to 80 acres of land. So we can put a lot of stuff inside there. I mean, if we were to have a concert with certain key stars, there's no other venue in the country that can hold 100,000 people. So we can. I told people on night market, we can move Coronation Market to Caymanas because you have lights. It becomes a city on its own. You can put dance clubs, you can put quick service restaurants. The sky's the limit once you put lights in.
Yeah, that makes great sense. Reminds me of 2020 cricket and the night game and how exciting that was. I don't think I made it down to Sabina Park much before they brought the nights in.
But the final point in that, what lights truly do, at Caymanas, I have 365 days of expenses.
Yeah.
Currently, I only have 88 days of revenues because I only have 88 days of races.
Right.
When lights are put in, right? Or should I say, if lights are put in, I can materially expand those 88 days and maybe initially over the next 5 years approach over 300 days of revenue earning opportunity. And as I said, that's when Caymanas becomes a totally different beast, and why I keep saying Caymanas has the potential and is very likely to become a major profit driver for the group.
Absolutely. That certainly makes great sense when you put it that way. Your utilization of the facility is extremely low with only 88 race days. That's less than 30%. So I'm excited to get further updates on what's happening out at Caymanas. I think we have time for 3 or 4 more questions. So let me take 2 or 3 more from some non-traditional folks. Nope. It's the regular crew, and I'm okay with the regular crew. Tresquet Gooden asks, who was the director that SVL bought the shares in dollar from? So I think it's public information. It's not so much the director, it's who we bought the shares from, or who did SVL buy the shares from. The largest shareholder in Dollar Financial Services Limited, First Rock Private Equity, Tresquet. So that answers your question. NCB has a rollout of a digital wallet. It did not take well. Do you think SVL can do a better job with the rollout of its digital wallet?
Yes.
Yep, that one was easy. So yes is the answer, and it's because people are already using the service.
Once approved.
Once approved, absolutely. People are already using the service. And I think in the case of NCB, maybe there was just a resistance to NCB, the bank, doing it. Here it is. This is a total convenience situation. Today, Tresquet, imagine a person goes to a point, gives cash, gets a ticket, then they got to go home and look it in the newspaper or look for it on TV to see if they won. And if they win, they have to go back to that payment point to get the cash. And then they have to take that cash if they want to send it to somebody, So imagine having that all on your phone, where you've already got credit on your phone.
Put it this way, at this point, I don't think there's any other entity in the country that can successfully roll out a mobile wallet as quickly as we can to the market that is required, which is underbanked and unbanked, because those are our customers.
Absolutely.
They're already doing business with us. They're already doing business with us online. They like coming to our site. So once we put it there, you get them immediately. But we have to follow. Sorry about that, Dan.
Sure.
Yeah, we have to follow a process, and once we follow the process and we get the necessary approvals, then we can act. In the meantime, we just plan.
Got it. But I agree with you. So here's a company that's handling, perhaps $8 to $10 billion cash per month, Tresquet, and here's a solution that reduces the amount of cash they're handling and benefits everybody who's involved. So I think it's just a great win-win-win, and I really look forward to it.
The other thing, Dan, is that the vision that we have for SVL, it's for some who don't see it, they're very critical, right? So like some of your usual people who ask questions, they don't see it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they will say, you're not leading a company in a particular way, but we're clear where it's going to end. And when we get there, people are going to be surprised, but this is where the world is going. We're not leading SVL to be the best company in Jamaica. We're leading SVL to be the best company in the world, because that's who your competitors are, So Even if it takes a little time to get the approvals, you have to respect the regulators. You have to respect, because they're protecting the ecosystem. So even if it's a little bit slow, that's fine. But the moment you get the approvals, the onus is on you, the company, to execute and execute as quickly as you can. But what that requires, it requires a talent pool who realizes that it's not business as usual, right? You're going to have to spend more time trying to achieve the company's targets, to achieve these goals. So, the youngsters coming out of school, I mean, they want to go 24 hours. Dan, when you interact with the Indian programmers, they sleep 2 hours a day.
Yeah.
So, if you're the employee that's going to come and you want to come to work at 8:30, and then you're going to have your tea at 10 o'clock, and then you're going to have your lunch at 12, and you have all of these breaks, and we're saying, hey, we have these goals that you need to achieve, that's not the place for you here, right? We're running a business. You have a time zone that's 5 hours ahead in Ghana, right? There's some other places we're dealing with that is 8 hours ahead. South Africa, I think, is 7 hours ahead, right? You have Guyana, etc. It's almost a 24-hour business. So you can't be calling somebody and they say, hey, it's a Saturday, I can't talk to you, or it's 4 o'clock in the morning. You have to decide, it's now the real world. And guess what? It's a Jamaican company that is asking you to do this. So do we lower our standards because we're Jamaican? Or do we follow what our athletes do? Break records and create new and better ways. As Jamaica's never done it economically or financially before then, now is the time to do it. And I think SVL can do that.
I am fully sold on it, Gary. Fully sold on it. This must be the reason why it's the third largest stock in my portfolio. So look, great results. I really look forward to the next quarter. I look forward to having you back on the program again so we can talk about the continued efforts out at SVL. I do need to make it out to the track. I'll confess I've never physically been, but I think I would like to come and see the
December 2nd.
December 2nd. Yes, I got my queen already, so I'll figure out my king outfit. So it's exciting. Great results. Congratulations. Happy to see that you guys are keeping up the dividends despite making these huge capital investments. Your commitment to the dividend payout remains pretty strong. And so this is what, folks, makes SVL a great stock for you to add to your portfolio. You're going to get consistent dividends, and it's a business that's going to consistently be growing. And we've already explained why it's recession and pandemic proof. So if you don't have it in your portfolio yet, it's still not too late to get it. It's, I really believe we're going to come back in 6, 9, 12 months and hear how exceptionally well Ghana is doing. And then guess what? As soon as you've mastered that, I know there are other regions and territories and countries that you guys can just roll out your technology into. So I know the focus is on Ghana for the next 12 months for sure, to make sure we get that right. But I'm really excited to, keep hearing of bigger and better things for SVL. And, as a proud Jamaican company doing exceptionally well, it's great to see you guys expanding internationally. So congratulations again. We look forward to having you guys back. And with that, I'd like to bring the program to a close. So thanks, Mr. Perrott, for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Bye.
Good deal. Well, that's it for today's discussions, folks. I'd like to thank our viewers, as usual, for tuning in. And big thanks to Gary Perrott for making himself available for this in-depth discussion. If you're curious about our updates on our Virtual Investor Forum, then find us on social media. We share live stream dates and our upcoming guests on our social media pages. So give us a follow to learn all things forum related. And remember, wise investors, slow and steady wins the race. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Mayberry Investments Limited, and click the like bell to receive our notifications. And with that, I'd like to thank you guys again for joining us. Goodbye. We'll see you soon.
The Mayberry Investments Limited Virtual Investor Forum has been the standard for investor education in Jamaica for decades, where top financial minds provide comprehensive insight into the market and ideal investment strategies and opportunities for our clients. Celebrating 37 years of excellence in investment banking. The Mayberry Virtual Investor Forum, investing in Jamaica.